Big Bang Theory. Everyone knows it, but no one knows how it all began. So today we're going to look at the history of Big Bang Theory, starting with what it is and then where it came from. The Big Bang Theory is the prevailing cosmological model for the universe. It essentially says that our universe started out really small and dense, and then it expanded outwards in an instant. And it also says that everything in the universe started at that moment and has been flying away from each other ever since. This idea is supported by lots of evidence. For example, distant galaxies are all moving away from us. Light from distant galaxies is stretched, meaning that they are all redshifted. This can only mean that everything is moving away from each other. If that's true, then everything must have started moving at the same time. Also, the cosmic microwave background radiation matches the blackbody radiation of an object that would be around 2.7 Kelvin, which matches the temperature of objects that are in thermal equilibrium with their surroundings. This means that the universe was once hot, and as it expanded, it cooled down to the point where it is now. However, the Big Bang Theory doesn't explain how the universe got to this state, nor does it explain where the matter came from or why there's dark matter and dark energy. But still, scientists love it because it explains so much about the world around us. And luckily, there are lots of ways to test it. One of these tests is the cosmic microwave background. We can see in space there's a glow everywhere, and this is the leftover heat from the Big Bang. Scientists call this the cosmic microwave background. You can actually hear it for yourself if you have a radio that tunes into low frequencies. You can hear a weird static noise that's coming from all directions. That's the cosmic microwave background radiation. If you look at this map, you can see that the whole sky is filled with this radiation. It comes from all directions, and it's incredibly uniform. But there are some tiny temperature variations in different parts of the sky. These variations are important because they contain information about what the universe was like in the first. Few minutes after the Big Bang, they tell us that matter was spread fairly evenly throughout the early universe. But there were tiny fluctuations in density. These fluctuations caused the matter to clump together to make stars and galaxies. Another piece of evidence for the Big Bang is the abundance of light elements. When the universe was very young, protons and neutrons combined to form atomic nuclei. This process is called nucleosynthesis. The most common element produced was hydrogen, but small amounts of helium and lithium were also made. The amount of these elements is very close to the amount that we expect to have been produced in the early universe. This is another piece of evidence that supports the Big Bang Theory. But we didn't always believe in the Big Bang. For a long time, people thought that the universe never had a beginning and never would end. This idea is called a steady-state theory. But the discovery of the cosmic microwave background radiation made it seem very unlikely that this was true. Instead, most astronomers now think that the universe had a beginning and will end. That's where the Big Bang comes in. The idea of the Big Bang wasn't new, though. It had been around for decades before it became popular. In fact, the idea goes back to the 18th century. When scientists started to understand that the laws of nature are the same everywhere, this idea is called the Copernican principle. It's named after Nicolaus Copernicus, who was the first person to put the sun at the center of the solar system. He did this because he realized that there was no reason to think that Earth was special. The same must be true of the laws of nature. They don't change from place to place. This means that if you go far enough away from Earth, you will find that the same laws of nature apply. This is the basis of Einstein's theory of special relativity. If the laws of nature are the same everywhere, then the universe can't be expanding. If it is, then you can't have a state of the universe where it's not expanding. But it does seem to be expanding. So something must have caused it to start expanding. And that something must have happened at a specific time. If the universe had always been expanding, then we could move to a place where it wasn't expanding, but we can't. This is why the Big Bang is such a good explanation for the universe. It tells us that the universe had a beginning. It also tells us that the universe must have been very hot and dense in the past. This makes sense because we know that everything in the universe is made of atoms. And atoms are only stable when they are far apart from each other. If they get too close, they will collapse and release energy. This means that if the universe was once hot and dense, then all the atoms would have been squeezed together and couldn't have existed. But now we know that the universe was once much hotter and denser than it is now. We also know that the atoms in the universe are mostly made up of empty space. This means that there was a lot of empty space in the early universe. As the universe expanded, this empty space filled up with matter, and that's how the matter in the universe formed. So that's what the Big Bang Theory says. But how did it come about? Well, the first person to come up with the Big Bang Theory was a Belgian scientist named George Lemaitre. Came up with the idea while he was fighting in World War II. He saw all the destruction that war could cause, and he started to wonder if there was a way to prevent future wars. He realized that the best way to do this would be to find a way to unite humanity. He thought that the best way to do this would be to find a common origin for all humans. He started to look into the origins of the universe, and he came up with the idea of the Big Bang. He published his idea in 1948, but it was untaken seriously until 1964, when Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation. They were trying to improve the performance of a radio antenna, and they noticed that it was picking up a strange noise. They traced the signal to a point in the sky, and they found that it was coming from all directions. They realized that they had stumbled upon the Big Bang Theory. In the years since then, the Big Bang Theory has become the most widely accepted explanation for the existence of the universe. But it's still just a theory. There is no way to prove that it's correct, but there is a lot of evidence that supports it. If you want to learn more about the Big Bang Theory, I recommend checking out my video on the heat death of the universe. So that's the story of how the Big Bang Theory came to be. I hope you enjoyed learning about it as much as I enjoyed making the video for you. If you did, please subscribe and leave a like. It really helps me out. If you want to keep learning about the universe, I'd recommend checking out my video on the heat death of the universe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.